Blessed be this day. After consulting with the oracle and the elder gods, and offering countless sacrifices of earth and water, your prayers have been answered. Today, the gods have bestowed upon you a collaboration between the mighty Lord of Knives, Ethan Becker, with his infinite wisdom of the animation industry, and drawing with purpose, and the benevolent Mohammed, cursed with skill of mimicry. Alas, on this day, upon the barren lands of YouTube, we shall review the art of subscribers of both the Ethan Becker channel and the Mohammed Agbadi channel. So be sure to watch the video on the Ethan Becker channel and search for your own bloody art. And sit back while we continue from where that video left off in today's episode.
This is where we hold them. This is where we fight. This is
Alright, boom, here we go. The last biggest mistake ever seen on Instagram. And this sucker's called Le Chatois. Yulquar, I've done this for schoolwork. I tried. That's it. This piece of art's looking pretty good, but I gotta tell you right now that this guy's already missing some Le Chatois. What is Le Chatois? Legs that straight, hold all the weight. Again, I don't know who this artist is, but I found this pose and it just fits. What we can obviously see here is that leg that's straight, hold all the weight. The hip is gonna be sitting up on that leg and the other side is gonna be kind of slanting downwards. Now I think that's what we're missing here. We're missing that feeling. Not only does it affect the hips, but it's gonna affect how the torso and the shoulders slant and the pinch and the curve of all this, yada yada yada. Okay, I can't stress this enough. Even if we're wearing a jacket, even if we're wearing a raincoat, wedding dress, funeral dress, it's our job as illustrators, our job as animators to make the form known. So draw the form, figure it out first, and you make sure you got that stretch and that pinch. It's very clear, and then you can add the jacket to conform to that stretch and pinch. All right, and if you were to argue that in real life, a jacket could do this, yes, obviously a jacket could do this. You could put your leg behind your head and roll up and down a staircase. Just because it's real doesn't mean it's a good design or it's a good story or whatever. All right, it's our job to clarify these things.
All right, so the first one is from C4K3. He says, any critiques or advice, and he sent this piece into the Discord group. Well, this is looking absolutely nice already. So first thing I would want to do is, you see where you have your signature right here, I think is a little bit distraction from the entire piece. So take it out and you can have your signature like down here, baby. Right, that's the first thing I'll do. Then second thing I see is you have a light source coming from the top right here. As it's hitting this hat, I know it's coming from the top, but then on the hand you have the light source coming in from below. Something going on, like you kind of made a mistake and forgot where your light direction was. So I'm just going to help you and sort that out. I'm basically just using the same colors you have in your work. I'm not going to be changing the colors that much. I'll just use the colors you have already established in your work to make everything just work together. You want to make sure that all your forms are pretty much following the same direction that your light source is. You don't want to have forms being lit where the light source cannot touch. And I can see you actually did the same thing with your hair, but you didn't put enough shadows in the hair to tell us that it's hair. So there's just a few shadows there, and I'll just help you by pretty much adding some more shadows into that hair. As you can see, once you just start adding shadows into the hair, it just begins to read and feel like there's some volume inside the hair strands. And you don't want to focus on drawing every single strand. You want to focus on the entire bunch. So you should think of the hair like big bunches, and then you're just shading and working on each bunch separately. Then now I'll start bringing out some highlights on the main part of the hair here. And also I'm choosing like a light orange because I can tell your light source is warm, so therefore the highlights are going to catch more of a warm tint to the color. So you always want to keep in mind what color your light source is, what temperature it is. If it's warm, you're going to have a lot of warmer highlights and cooler shadows, and if your light source is cool, you're going to have way more warmer shadows. So keep that in mind, baby. Next thing I want to do is focus on the face. So first of all, I have to take off the light source you made right here and put everything in shadow. And this light source you put here, that's not where the light source will be. It will be kind of hitting this entire part. So we'll just paint this right in, just gradually, softly, just smoothly, just going in. Happy colors, happy colors, happy colors, happy colors, happy colors only. Do the same thing you had with that Rembrandt lighting you had there, but when you're doing this, you have to think of the shapes that are on the face. So why you have this triangle is because the nose casts a shadow this way. The nose casts a shadow this way. That's why it's always obstructing the cheek right here. So that's why you have like an upside down triangle, and then it follows the rest of the face on the other side. And the next thing I want to do is just add a little bit of a highlight right here just to make it pop. And now that we've established the light direction, next thing I want to work on more is I want to focus more on the shadows now. Pretty much make the shadows follow the light direction that I've established in the image. And I just said I established, but I'm actually just using the direction you already had in your work. I'll just add some more light hitting teeth, because you kind of lit the teeth from the other side and there's no light source there, so that side needs to be in shadow, judging by what we've been doing here. So let's just light this part, because this part is going to be in the lights. Now that's looking solid. So next thing I want to do is focus on the highlights in the eyes. So you have a highlight here, that's not where it should be. If your light source is coming from the left hand side, that's where your highlight is. You just, unless you have another light source there, but if there's no light source there, then there's no way you'll have a highlight there. All right, boom. Now you see just a little bit of redefining the shapes on the face. You can see how that's looking a little bit better. If we were to put in more work, we could add some more shapes, some more shades just around the hat. I like what you did here. You had this side, just you smoothen the side. You have a soft edge going on around here. That's actually how it will work. Next you might want to do is focus on the shapes and the cloth, but I think I'll just let you do that, because if I start doing that, it will take so much time. But anyway, I just changed up the face and that looks pretty decent already. The next one is from Craigslist. Is it a he, or let me zoom in, I can't even tell. It's like a he or a she, I don't know. But if it's a he, he's trying to be smart. He's trying to play on words, like he's having Craigslist, but he's actually talking about Craigslist.
But it's Craigslist.
Like some spooky stuff. It's like the Matrix. You actually have to be smart. You have to understand the Da Vinci Code and solve some physics equations to be actually able to understand what he's doing right now with his username. You have a light source coming from here, and how I can tell that is because of the location of this shadow right here. So if the shadow is on this part, that means the light source is from the left hand side, the top. And then I can also tell, like with this light hitting the leg right here and the light here. Anyway, the shadows, everything is on this part, but it's not showing up in the face. Like I can't feel that light source in the face. It's not showing in the face. The face looks pretty much flat, like there's no light hitting it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to focus on making the face feel more like that light source is hitting it there. So we're just going to add some shadows on this part. That might make me shade into the eye, but I really don't want to, so I have to be really careful and just use a soft round brush to just go in smoothly and just focus on those parts. So we shade in this part, and why I'm even using a soft round brush, I use that all the time, but why I'm doing that more right here is because she's a female character and you don't want to have like the female characters have a lot of edges on their face. So you want to make sure that you're having like smoother planes, especially for like female characters. And also another thing I can notice is there's a style he's going for with his image. So maybe for that style, it usually has the faces looking very smooth and not have a lot of shadows because of the way his eyes are and the way the mouth is. Kind of like an anime thing, so he's not supposed to have like too many shadows in this. So I'm just going to, you know, respect his work and just obey like the style. So I'm just going to have some shadows underneath the eye right here. I'm pretty much also thinking of the style that the work is before I just make a decision. All right, so just like just some few touches. It's already looking pretty decent. Now next thing I'll do is just touch up the hair a little bit. I think it works already. Now next thing I want to do is focus on the skirt right here, because to sell, like, this is I don't know what they call these kind of, is it plated or what, but yeah, this feels like a skirt. And next thing we're going to work on is the laps, man, like the thighs, like the laps right here. I see that you just put your light source here. So usually how this work is, it's not just one line, it will actually be smoother like this. It will smooth out, and then you just have like a little bit of shadow from the skirt up top. Before, after, didn't do much, but it looks solid already. Great work, man. All right, this should be the last one. This is from Butterball. It says, I want it to hurt, burn me. Homie, I got you. First thing, you have a lot of text going on in the image. That's just it's just obstructing us from actually seeing the character first off. So I think you can do away with all of this text. You don't need it. Maybe you just need like your Instagram handle right there, and you can actually just put it on the right hand side here. That'll be good. And if you want to like title your work, you could actually just use white and make it really small. You can just write it right here very small, and then this paper sandwiches, your Instagram at, you can actually just put it here at paper sandwiches. Bam, that's it. So you have a cast shadow right on this part, which is looking good actually. If you wanted to sell that he's like close to a wall, if this were a wall and maybe there's just a wall on this part, that is pretty good. But I don't know if that's what you're going for. If that was what you're going for, that's fine. But if not, I'll actually take this cast shadow off on this part, because it's just making the guy look very flat, like it's just a paper cutout and it's stacked against the wall. So he has his cast shadow directly just hitting the wall. It just looks like a piece of paper. So you don't want to do that. You actually want to have your shadows on the ground, not like against a wall. So you can just take those off. All right, bam, we've taken care of that. Now next thing we want to do is we want to have our shadows be on the ground. And if your light source is coming from the right hand side, because of the shadows in your shoes, I can tell the light source is coming from the right hand side. So the shadows are going to be on the left and not on the wall this time. So you wouldn't have a shadow. This is just a round shadow. What? It's just a round shadow. That's not how it works. So your shadows are actually going to be on the opposite side. So just go ahead and paint that in very casually, just like and then one thing I noticed is you have a big metal piece here, and you're actually not letting that metal reflect. So whenever you have like metal in your work, you want to make sure that all the materials in your work are actually reflecting whatever your light source is. And metal is a really reflective material, so you want to make sure that you're maximizing how you're portraying that metal in your work. So you want to make sure that your metal is pretty much reflecting, like having like these kind of reflections. This, you don't have to go too crazy overboard with it. There's something like this will actually just sell that this is metal. I mean, right now if someone tells me this is metal, I'm buying. Like, I'm buying straight up. Yeah, and then another thing I'll do is actually like have a lot of shadows on your character, because your character doesn't have so many shadows on him. The pants, everything is just looking really flat. So I'll just create a normal a multiply layer above, and then your shadows, I think you have purple in the shadows, so that means your light source is warm. So I'm just going to use purple as well, and pretty much just adding some more details to like your character right here. Works. I think that works. If there really is anything, I probably would have changed the pose, because you're having like this big shuriken that is holding, is interfering with the silhouette of his body. So if I turn this black now, if I turn the entire image like into just a black silhouette, it will be just this. You see this figure and like this style, you won't really be able to tell what it is. So that's like a rule of character design. You want to be able to tell the character from the silhouette. So what I would have done is just shift like the silhouette from his body. I'll probably just probably go in and do something like this, so you don't have this like huge shuriken just interfering with the rest of your character. So this way you can tell like it's a guy. If you turn this black now, you can tell it's a guy holding the shuriken. So this is pretty much what I would have done. Any other things, I'll just change the entire pose. Hope you learned something from this video. If you did, make sure you leave the video a like, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and